Let's take a gander at this. We are eventually going to get to using angles of elevation and depression to solve problems, but I do want to teach you how to solve a triangle. Solve each triangle is the definition of solve the triangle means to find everything. Just tell me everything about the triangle. Everything. Well, in this case, we are given 3 pieces of information, 1, 2, and 3. So that means I need to find the 3 unknown pieces. So if I wanted to find this one right here, xz, that's fairly straightforward because I could just use our friend, Pythagorean theorem. Now, you don't have to. I'm not saying that's the only way. But if you choose to find the side right now, then you go ahead and just use Pythagorean theorem. Remember what a squared, b squared, etc. are? If I call this a, then this one's my b. My longest has to be c. So it's the 25, that's solo. So 25 squared equals 14 squared plus the unknown a squared. And you don't have to call it a. I could have called it yz squared. Continuing on, a squared equals 429. And now, if you put it as an exact answer, so notice my equal sign there, it's going to be, so the actual straight answer is this. Now, of course, that's not very helpful. So that would be an exact answer. And now to bring it back into the real world, 20 point. So I'll say approximately 20.7. Both of these are actual answers. If the instructions do not say what form to leave it in, then the best is just to go ahead and do both, just in case. All right, now that's one method. I didn't have to choose that method, but I did. Now what I do need to find out is what the measure of angle x is and the angle measure of angle y. Now I'm only going to find one at one time, and it doesn't matter which one you choose. So if I start at x here, from this perspective, 14 is my opposite, and 25 is my adjacent. Why am I using exactly those? Why don't I use the 20.7? Because this is an approximation. So if I use an approximation and then take the sine, cosine, or tangent or whatever, and then I have to approximate that, double approximation makes me farther probably from the answer. So because I have opposite and hypotenuse, looks like I'm going to use sine relative to x. So the sine of my unknown x is going to be 14 over 25. So all I have to do is plug that into my calculator and hit the inverse of sine button. So here, the measure of angle x is approximately 34 degrees. It's 34.05, but I can go ahead and round. Depend on what the instructions say. The previous ones we explored said round to the nearest angle, so I can do that. If you rounded it to 34.1, that is also sufficient. Now, what's nice here is once you have this angle to be 34 degrees-ish, you don't have to do sine, cosine, or tangent to find the other one. How is angle y related to angle x? Bloop. Complementary. That's it. So once I have 34 degrees there, then off. This one here is 66. Oops, not 66. 56 degrees. So let's just bring it all together to make sure we're all on the same, we bring it all together. Yeah, measure of angle x is approximately 34, and the measure of angle y is approximately 56. And if you wanted to clarify this a to be xz, that might help too. So I just bring it all together there so it's a little bit easier to see. So today what we want to talk about is the angle of elevation. And what's called the angle of depression. So by way of vocabulario, let's express what this is. Now, both of these have to do with the horizontal line. So see this horizontal line? So there's a bird flying, and the bird looks straight in front of him or her, right? Or here's a boat sailing, and the boat is looking at the horizon, so looking straight. Or here's a submarine, and this is the horizontal line from the submarine. So the angle of depression or the angle of elevation are both relative to that blue line that I've done. They're all horizontal. So the angle of elevation is if you look up, right? So from the boat to the birds, angle 2 is the angle of elevation. All right? From the submarine up to the boat, that's an angle of elevation. Because if I'm looking straight in front of me, straight in front of me, and then I tilt my head upward. Now that is where the bird is. So angle 2 is an angle of elevation. So therefore, by the only other option, the depression would be, if this guy's looking down, the birds are looking down, mine, then that's the angle of depression. Or this guy, sailor, is looking down at the submariner, then that would be an angle of depression. All right, so now let's use angle of elevation. Angle of elevation. A person is standing 40 feet from a flagpole and can see the top of the pole at a 35-degree angle of elevation. The person's eye level is 4 feet from the ground. What is the height of the flagpole to the nearest foot? So we're going to draw and label a diagram before we even attack, kill, destroy it. So let's start. I have a person. Hello, person. I am the person, yeah. And now I'm going to label my eyeball height. So notice I'm not going all the way to the head or the top. And all the way down to here is 4 feet. Now, this person is standing 40 feet away from a flagpole. So I'm going to draw the flagpole here. And there it is. Don't forget stars and stripes there. Okay, now I'm going to label 40 feet here. Boop. And notice 2 other pieces that I'm going to draw. Number 1, I'm going to draw my line of sight right here, which I'm not measuring, by the way. I'm trying to find out the height of the flagpole. But notice what else I need to draw. I need to draw this horizontal line right there because 35 degrees is this right here. Not from the ground, it's from my eyeball. So whatever I find, so let's just call this over here x, I have to add another 4 feet to that because the eyeball is 4 feet off the ground. So I can use sine, cosine, tangent, one of them, to find out x based on the 35 and the 40. Let's see why. Why is it going to be tangent? So here's what I know. Here is what I know. I know this one to be 40 feet also. So that one is my adjacent. So I have adjacent, and I'm looking for the opposite. So when I SOHCAHTOA, it has to be tangent, my only option. So the tangent of 35 is equal to the opposite x over 40. Now multiply both sides by 40, and then I punch that into my calculator. I'll show you what I'm going to throw in there. 40 times the tangent of 35. So I plug that into my calculatrice, and I find that x is approximately, let me fix that, whoop, whoop, approximately 28 point blah, blah, blah. So that's decent, but that's not my answer. No, 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 sir. Remember, I have to add the 28 to the 4. So add the 28 to the 4. So the final result will be approximately 32 degrees. So I'll just put here, the height is approximately 32, not degrees, feet. And there we have it.